Welcome back, y'all, and happy Monday. This is the last game week of the regular season, but for the Tennessee Volunteers, it's essentially a playoff game versus the Vanderbilt Commodores. A lot of folks are concerned about Vandy's offense. We're going to be scouting that today. And of course, throughout the week, we're going to keep y'all up to date with everything that we need to know about Vandy. But if Tennessee comes out and takes care of business, not only will we make it to the playoffs, but we can also get ourselves a first-round home game, which would obviously be huge to have a playoff game inside of Neyland Stadium. But as always, y'all, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. All right, y'all, we're going to start off with the stat. And as y'all can see, Tennessee is leading in every major category that we like to look at outside of turnovers. And it's not that Tennessee's doing a poor job with the turnovers on defense, but man, Vandy barely turns the football over. Outside of that, though, this looks on paper to be a matchup that definitely favors our defense. So Vandy's total offense is ranked number 116. Tennessee's total defense is ranked number 6. Vandy's scoring offense is ranked number 77, and Tennessee's scoring defense is ranked number 4. Now, Vanderbilt's only giving up 1.2 sacks per game. We'll get to why at some point in this video. So that's number 30 in the entire country. Tennessee's actually kind of picking up with the sacks per game, 2.3 now, and we're up to number 45 in the country. On down to the passing numbers, Vanderbilt's passing offense is ranked number 108th, and Tennessee's passing defense is ranked number 26. Vandy's rushing offense is ranked number 85. A lot of people think about Vanderbilt's rushing attack, but it's really not statistically that great. And Tennessee's rush defense is ranked number 6. So, love all these matchups so far. Third down, Vanderbilt is ranked number 117. Tennessee's ranked number 5. Red zone, Vanderbilt's actually ranked number 12, which is good. Their red zone offense, it's tough to stop, but Tennessee's red zone defense is even better, ranked at number 7. And like we talked about, Vanderbilt's ranked number 3 in turnovers, and Tennessee is ranked number 33. Now let's take a look at the key players for Vanderbilt on offense, starting off with Diego Pavia, who is a baller. He's going to be number 2 on their roster. Of course, he is their quarterback. He's listed at 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. He is a graduate. Passing numbers so far this season, 15 of 24. That's his per game average. He is completing passes at 60%. He's averaging 7.8 yards per attempt, 1.4 touchdowns per game, and he has 3 interceptions on the season. Now, as far as rushing numbers, he's averaging 15 carries per game, 61 yards per game, 4.1 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns on the season. Now, Pavia is a guy, like I said, he's a baller. He seems to really rise to these types of games. Like, I think he plays his best games in these biggest moments, versus the best teams. And he can make magic happen with all the different options that Vandy likes to run. He's not the most accurate passer, especially all the way down the field, but the passing game is mostly based off of some 3-step drop, time and stuff. He's typically going to be on time, but he's just not as accurate. I think that Tennessee can do some good things to slow down what Pavia likes to do, but make no mistake about it, he's the engine that makes this entire team go, really even for their defense. Okay, if he's not playing well, if he can't get them out of some critical situations, then Vanderbilt will struggle. Next player is running back Cedric Alexander. He's listed at 5'9", 200 pounds. He is a sophomore. He's going to be number 28 on their roster. Now, he's not the only running back that they have that can go. They've got a couple of other guys, but he's the main one that we'll be talking about today. So he's averaging 12 carries per game for about 45 yards, 5 touchdowns on the season. So this is a guy that also looks really good at catching the football out of the backfield. Sometimes they will go empty, line him up. He runs nice routes. He, goes after that football. He has good hands. He's a, typical, I would say, average SEC running back. He doesn't have the best size, but he's got pretty good balance. He's going to run hard. He's not the fastest guy, none of those types of things, but he is a very solid player. And obviously Tennessee's going to have to make sure that we are slowing him down to try to, limit what this offense can do. Next player is tight end Eli Storrs. He's listed at 6'4", 235 pounds. He's another graduate, and he's number 9 on their roster. He's averaging 4 catches per game for 51.6 yards, and he's also getting about 13 yards per catch. He has 4 touchdowns on the season. Now, Storrs is a player that they love to target, okay? He gets a bulk of their passing targets, and he's got really good speed. Actually, he's going to be the fastest player that we'll be talking about today, just as far as all of these key players. He's about 21.5 miles per hour. So while he's not the biggest tight end, he's got good speed. He has good hands. I think that he runs good routes. We'll see a whole lot of, hitches, in routes or digs, things like that. But they will also send him vertically. He's going to make those tough catches. He's going to fight for the extra yards. But we've got to make sure that we are IDing him, because he also does a good job if Pavia gets into that scramble drill of just kind of scrambling out with him and getting himself open. So it's going to be huge to make sure that we latch on the Storrs to really slow down what this offense can do as far as the passing game goes. Next player is wide receiver Junior Sherrill, listed at 5'11", 188 pounds. He's a sophomore. He's going to be number 0. He's averaging 2 catches per game for 33 yards per game, 15.5 yards per catch, and he has 3 touchdowns on the season. Now, Junior is a player that runs a lot of their shorter stuff, like more of the maybe slot wide receiver stuff. You see a whole lot of hitches. You will see some vertical balls from him as well, but he's probably not the most consistent player going down the field. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the shiftiest guy, but he's going to play hard. He runs pretty good routes. He's got pretty solid hands. He does have, I want to say, like 8 drops on the season. So not the surest, but for the most part, y'all, he is going to bring in those catches. He will fight for those extra yards. You just have to make sure that you're staying close to him, come up, make tackles, things like that. Not a whole lot for us to worry about right here. Last player is going to be Quincy Skinner Jr. He is another wide receiver listed at 6'2", 205 pounds. He's a senior, and he is going to be number 3 on their roster. He's averaging 2.4 catches per game, 32 yards per game, and then he has 2 touchdowns on the season. Now, if you're looking at these numbers, you wouldn't really think it, but he's more of their vertical threat, okay? He does a much better job getting open down the field, and he's also not going to be some super fast player, but he's tough, okay? Not only just like with the vertical stuff, but also with all the intermediate stuff, constantly fighting for extra yards. I think that he's a much better route runner. To me, he's more of like an NFL body at wide receiver, but he still is going to be a lot more of that like possession wide receiver. So there's not a whole lot here that I'm looking at with Vanderbilt from a skill player perspective that should present too many issues to Tennessee. All right, now let's take a look at Vanderbilt's offensive line. They've only given up 14 sacks this season, but I don't think that they're the best in pass protection. The first thing that I will tell you about them is they're all about guard size, so 6'5" and under, about 330-ish pounds. None of these guys are going to be, like prototype tackle bodies, nothing like that. I don't think that they have any true tackles. But the other thing that's pretty interesting is looking over here, you can see their snap count, from left tackle to right tackle with the first player, with the second player, exact same thing. It's almost an equal amount on both sides. So they've been cross-trained well. Also, you can come down here to this guard. He's played at guard and center, on both guard sides, kind of like the same thing here where, we've got a more true guard that's played both guards, hasn't played any center. But right here, this is their true center who's played mostly at center, but also at guard, and this kind of so on and so forth. So I wanted to point that out to y'all, but we're going to scroll on over, okay? And I'm going to get to what we normally look at, right, which is the pressures given up, sacks, things like that. So up here, the first player, Gunnar Hansen, who will be one of their tackles. Like we said, he could play both sides on the season. They're only giving him credit for 1 sack given up, but man, 20 pressures, and his pressure rate is 6.1%. So if we can get some, if we can pass rush him, or really, like I said, either of their tackles, I think we will find some success. Right here, the next tackle, Chase Mitchell, hasn't given up any sacks this season, but he has given up 25 pressures. Just to let y'all know, the most on Tennessee's team is 17, and that is from Lance Hurd. But we've got guys up here that have given up a lot more than that playing at tackle, and he's at a 7.7% pressure rate. Now, their guards look a lot more solid, I would say, in pass pro. We're not seeing as many pressures, definitely not as many pressures, but I think that we can definitely attack those tackles if we get the opportunity in some pass rush situations. All right, now these are all the routes that Vanderbilt likes to run, and I wanted to put this on here just to give y'all a visual, right? Like these are not all the ones that are going to be, the most targeted. This is just about the ones that they actually run. So this one over here on the left, this is going to be more of the wide receiver route tree. You can see up at the top, the go ball is getting, the most reps at 21.9%. Then after that, we have hitches. So they love a, very vertical route tree within their passing game. That makes it a lot easier for us to stop it. I think that Tennessee will go man-to-man coverage. Now, the tree over here to the right is going to be more for like the backs or tight ends, just players that are lined up coming out of the backfield. You can see, again, there's a very strong vertical presence to it, but they also love to, kind of work off of that with some outs, with some flare routes, with some things, very close to the line of scrimmage. And that is going to be typical for players coming out of the backfield. But this is about how all that stuff looks, okay? I just wanted for y'all to understand it so that whenever we go on to the next screen, y'all understand what I'm talking about better. All right, now that everyone has a pretty good idea of what the routes look like from the previous screen, let's take a look at the most targeted routes, okay? So these are the routes that they're throwing the football to the most. And up at the top, we have a hitch route. That's about 18.4% of, who they're throwing the football to. So that's one that, again, man, it's all about man-to-man coverage, just coming down and just playing that tight. That's pretty easy to stop, especially with our cornerbacks. The next one is not applicable. I have no idea what, I guess they're running some type of like Looney Tune routes, but you can also see that the completion percentage of those are at 0%. So to me, that shows that there's a lot of lack of discipline within the wide receivers and tight ends running their routes and things like that. But let's come on down here, okay? This is really number two. This is the go route, all right? And that's 7.4% of the targeted passes. And they will throw to this out of a three-step drop, okay? They don't need a whole lot of time to just throw a straight up go ball. But again, man, it's a whole lot of vertical stuff. So I really feel like that man-to-man coverage is going to help Tennessee out. Down here, we have crossing routes. So a crossing route, we saw that before, but it's very difficult to play man-to-man coverage and cover those crossing routes. So they're pretty much running this to keep the defense out of that man-to-man coverage. But I do still think that our cornerbacks could cover that very well because they have over the course of this season. And then next we have out routes, very easy to cover with man-to-man coverage. And then the scramble adjustments we talked a lot about, or, we talked some about with that tight end doing a good job, man, of scrambling with his quarterback. And I would say you could, echo the same thing for all these wide receivers, but pretty much so on and so forth, backfield passes. I'll just kind of scroll this thing down so that y'all can see really all these down here. They're not going to mean as much just because they're not targeted as much. We want to try to stop what Vanderbilt does the most of within their passing game. And I think that Tennessee's built to do it. All right, y'all. Vanderbilt's offense is an option offense. That's the first thing that Tennessee's going to have to stop. And the good news for us is we've done a beautiful job of slowing these really, mobile quarterbacks down. We always play discipline versus these types of option offenses where it's going to be more of a loaded up box. It's a lot like a triple option. The problem with an option offense, the reason that it's so difficult to stop is because number one, not a lot of teams run it this sort of a way because Vanderbilt will also spread you out. Like I've seen them go empty a lot. They will go empty and they'll throw the football. They will run a ton of trick plays. So this game for Tennessee is going to be all about discipline. And that's something that Tennessee is, great at. So I love our chances for that reason. But also with any option offense, the best way to stop it is with a good defensive line, especially with your tackle play. Now, Tennessee will be the best group of tackles that Vanderbilt has faced up against this entire season. They love to double team those tackles and try to get some movement. They rarely ever get up to the second level and try to get to those linebackers, especially on more of those dive plays, which is what we're talking about to start off. With all option offenses, you have got to stop essentially what are dive plays to slow down what the offense likes to do. Now, whether that's going to be with power, okay, coming from Pavia at quarterback or, whatever it is, as long as they can't get movement on our tackles, we'll slow down most of their offense. And then if you talk about Tennessee's ends, we've been very disciplined for the most part, especially with the options of keeping contained, of, not biting on those fakes and things like that. Now, what Tennessee has shown is that we love to stop the quarterback option first or just that wide option first, and we force them to come back to the middle, which again, with our tackles being there, with our linebackers pretty much being unblocked, I think it won't be too much of a challenge for us to, slow this thing down. They will find success because they run this offense very, very well. They are very disciplined on the offensive side. Their funds very technically sound, and they carry out all their fakes, all that type of stuff. So they will, hit some plays every now and then, but watch out for that opening script. If Tennessee takes care of business to start this game off, then man, I think we have a really good chance to be able to sustain that over the course of this game, especially if we can turn Vanderbilt into more of a passing offense, which is not what they're really good at because even their passing game is predicated off of the option, right? So whether it's RPOs or, double passes, all of that type of stuff, it's just based off of, hey, we know that within our option offense, these players have to pause for just a second. So that's why their passing game is mostly quick game stuff. It's three-step drop. It's all about timing. And yeah, you have to pause because you have to be, very fundamentally sound and disciplined. So it can leave some players open, especially tight ends, things like that. But Tennessee will rally up and will make tackles. They don't have people who are going to make you miss. They're not super strong. They're not the biggest players. But again, they do run their offense very, very well. But I love Tennessee's chances just because our front four is great at defending the option. And then we're going to have linebackers that are going to be pretty much unblocked. They're also very disciplined. Okay. They've gotten better and better as the season has gone on. Guys like Arion Carter seems to know exactly what play is coming. I think T. Lander, Jalen Smith has really picked it up. Caleb Perry, he's looking really good. Tennessee might run more 4-3 in this game, especially versus that 12 personnel. I feel like we can stick, with their tight ends for the most part. Now, like we talked about, that one tight end, number 9, he's got good speed, but we could have maybe a safety lineup or matchup versus him. We will have a very good game plan for this. And I feel like Tennessee is going to absolutely dominate. And then also, we can go man to man on the outside with our cornerbacks and essentially shut down what they like to do in that passing game. Because, like we said, they will go play action, throw it deep, or just, catch the ball, throw it up deep. on the outside. That's not going to work versus Tennessee. They don't run a ton of double moves. I've seen some here and there, but even with the double moves, man, Tennessee does such a beautiful job with our cornerbacks. I told y'all, I think our cornerbacks are the best in the entire country. So this is a game while most people are going to be concerned about Vanderbilt's offense. I'm not, just because of the way that our defense is built. It is built to stop these sorts of offenses. Now, where Tennessee might run into some trouble at that does concern me is if Vandy gets into some more true passing sets. Our ends have not done a good job of maintaining that outside leverage. I've seen so many quarterbacks, and I mean, we all have, just kind of roll out and get to the outside of our ends that are kind of crashing down. And then they can, extend the play, throw the football down the field. And especially with the option stuff that they like to do, it's very possible that someone could be wide open. But as long as we just, maintain discipline, I don't think that we need to try to get a whole bunch of sacks in this game. I do think that Tennessee is going to try to blitz just because Vanderbilt has not done a good job of picking up blitzes. Their offensive line, they're not the fastest guys. They move pretty slow, but they do a good job within that run blocking, within those three-step drops and things like that. But if you bring some stunts, blitzes, things like that on some obvious passing situations, you can get home, but we just have to be disciplined in everything that we do, and Tennessee will find a ton of success on defense. But that's it for my thoughts. Please share yours with me down in the comments section. And as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.